audience?
What the job is. So, for example, probably wouldn't hire or wouldn't offer you a lot of things, obviously legal, mental health, medical, depending on what it is. So, it kind of depends.
Physical exam, you would probably get
the basic things.
Yeah, maybe not interviews, but maybe a job training. Community stuff.
You said on-the-job training. There's a lot of on-the-job training stuff.
Educational stuff. But it's kind of more about what the job requires. So if it's a job that requires a higher level certified interpreter, then obviously that's something we wouldn't offer you. But we do still get plenty of basic level interpreting requests and still page those out. So we don't send like all basic work to the seasoned interpreters or anything like that. So I'd say it's still able to get work.
Independent contractor is an interpreter through an agency, whereas a freelance interpreter is more where they themselves are the agency and write the contracts and stuff like that and promote themselves. Is that the difference?
Freelance is independent contractor.
Oh.
It's just they're synonymous, yeah. An independent contractor is somebody who's independently contracted through a number of agencies. A part-time employee works for an agency and can work for several agencies, but still be part-time employed, and that just means the relationship that they have with that agency is such that they are usually guaranteed a certain number of hours, or they dictate their work. They can require that they have certain training. An independent contractor, they can't do anything. They just refer the work to them, take it, don't take it, show up, do the job.
What percentage of jobs would you say?
70. No, I would say, yeah, I mean, a really pretty high percentage. It's pretty wild how, because, if a job comes in and it's canceled, you can turn around and take another job at that same time, and then you're pretty much getting paid for 2 jobs and you only did 1. And a lot of stuff gets canceled, and a lot of stuff gets canceled last minute. So on your do's and don'ts, there's something about flexibility that falls into that, because it's, especially in Texas too, but in your independent contractor, your schedules are just, interpreting in general, your schedule's just going to fluctuate so much. But we get a lot of same day or day before cancellations, and then we get, further out cancellations too, but probably 35 to 40% of the jobs that we get. Maybe that's a little high, but we do get a lot of cancellations. It's into like medical appointments and stuff, so.
Do agencies provide insurance for staff interpreters? I'm sure they don't for independent contractors, but if you're on staff, do you get like benefits?
We do offers.
What's the process for interpreting in the medical field of a hospital and somebody going in for surgery, or how does it work with an interpreter so they don't see, or how they can communicate for both the communication? How does it work without seeing the person, like if they're going
accepting
to
the job?
As far as the actual, so for like a surgery?
Yeah,
or
like
just
surgery or anything that deals with them being exposed. How does it work with the interpreter if they can or can't see?
Well, so you might have more insight than I do, because I actually don't go there. I'm pretty sure in that situation, interpreters interpret the beginning and the end.
Sometimes you go in and people have to be exposed. You just don't look at them. You just start to learn. They all look the same.
Right.
Doesn't really matter.
And that mindset too, you will all have. You laugh, but I'm serious. Every interpreter is like that. They have seen everything, and it's like, whatever. So, but yeah.
You also got a lot of teams.
Yeah, no, we do generally. So, really anything that's over an hour, we try and team, depending on what it is. If it's a medical appointment, maybe not. But for things like education, employment, especially legal, maybe even mental health, we do a lot of CDI teams for mental health stuff. But generally, yeah, we will definitely advocate for, and if the business isn't willing to pay for a team, then we will let you know that beforehand. But yeah, we do a lot of team stuff. Although a lot of what we get to is like 1 hour medical stuff too. So, but yeah, it does happen.
Do you ever get to, and I'm sure that the agencies do, but we talk a lot about like advocating for CDIs, and so if you get an assignment and as an agency you will realize whether or not a CDI is needed, and it's not all on, or is it mostly the interpreter themselves accepting the job that has to be the one to say this is needed for this certain assignment?
So if we have insight, we will generally advocate for that. Or if we offer it to an interpreter who accepts the work and they've seen a deaf consumer, maybe they worked before and know, then maybe that would be something to let us know. That's really good feedback to always provide to an agency. And if ever it doesn't look like there's been one scheduled, you can always ask, or you can always let us know. But so if we have insight to it and are familiar with the deaf consumer, or if we are provided that information at the time of the request, then we definitely do that. And it does happen too where, because a lot of businesses don't know what certified deaf interpreters are, how they're used. So a lot of times too, we'll call and kind of advocate and get them, kind of educate them on that. But yeah, I mean, as long as we know, I mean, sometimes it'll just have where it slips through the cracks where nobody knows the deaf consumer and you show up and you need one. And even then, if you're able to contact your agency and let them know, maybe they can let the business know that they need to send one or for any future appointments.
And on that, we just had a presenter about trilingual interpreting, and there was a situation where they came out, and is that information that would be given to an interpreter prior to accepting the job? And not that they need to be trilingual interpreter, but that it's there's like 6 interpreters there, and it's going to be passed on.
Yeah, so probably not in the initial page when you get that minimal amount of information, but afterwards that would definitely be something we'd let you know. So generally we want to tell you who you're working with, how many interpreters you have, and kind of what the situation is. So if they requested 3 interpreters, we would generally tell you you're working with a CDI, a Spanish interpreter, or whatever it is. So,
I have a question. Whenever you get the initial email about that with the small details, and you say like yes, not really knowing the full amount, and then you get the full amount, does that then come back as we're getting it back to you? Or like when we say yes initially, does that count as we're confirmed? Or when do we become confirmed for a job?
So the whole process from start to finish, we get the request, we would page it out, an interpreter would accept the job, and then we confirm you, for which we send you a notification or let you know that you're confirmed, and also confirm you with the business, and that's technically when you've had it, when you're on the job.
But then you can get information, then you say, oh yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah, that's kind of your in between the assigned and the confirmed time. So if you accept a job, that's like the time to check and see, and then confirm.
And then everything from that
So
point,
what's the window then? A couple hours? Or
much shorter than
much
that.
shorter to like know all the information and back
But
out?
once you get that information, it's confidential. You can't share anything that you get. Right, it's quick. You'll get confirmed. You'll get the information and then confirm pretty quickly. It's usually, I mean, CSD works on, you know, an appointment in an hour. Can you go?
So I see on here on the bottom it says turn down too many, don't turn down too many assignments. So as an entry level basic interpreter who really doesn't have much experience, like how can I be like, this is not going to be something that I will give the best interpretation without it affecting that ability?
Well, so we are human and we understand that. So if you call us back and you say, I do not think I'm a good fit for that, that really does not reflect that negatively on you. If you are never accepting work, or it's very rarely, as schedulers, we pick up on all of that. So that's something where, it may just be that we start offering you less because we know you're not going to take jobs. So for that, and I mean also, I think too, as a basic level interpreter, you'll want to take a lot of stuff because you'll really want to experience everything. But I mean, if you were to call and say, I'm not comfortable, I don't think this is a good fit for me, that doesn't ever really reflect negatively because that's probably in your best bet and in the best interest of the deaf consumer if you do get back jobs that you aren't a good fit for. So, just kind of, and you can imagine, and we're all human, we understand, things happen and stuff, but if it's to the point where you're doing often enough where we notice, then, which I know is not like a quantified number, but it's, if you're turning it down enough to where the schedulers are kind of noticing it does look negatively.
What characteristics as a coordinator do you
expressed a whole lot of, this being frustrated with the flexibility of everything. So I'd say they're generally pretty flexible. They are adapt to feedback. They are willing to work to learn maybe new scheduling systems, or are able to work with the agencies, want to provide a lot of feedback, but that stay professional and can kind of differentiate professional versus personal. Because agency, we operate quickly, and it's very business oriented. So to call in and, I just found this job and this happened and it made me feel like this and I just don't know. I'm over exaggerating, but stuff like that really does happen. People who pick up a lot of work, and again, you'll see I almost feel like that I'm sounding unprofessional saying that you pick up a lot of work, but once you get into the groove of what you can interpret and what you can't, and then you'll see pages and you'll kind of get a feel, because a lot of it is very similar stuff, then you'll kind of be able to pick up on that, be able to do that quicker. Generally, interpreters who are enthusiastic about taking work, who are flexible, who are punctual, who can reflect professionally on both the agency and themselves, and then who do not need hand-holding, which, as a basic level interpreter, to be honest, you'll probably need a little bit of hand-holding. You're new to the field, it's fine. But interpreters that they can't function, they can't be self-sufficient as an independent contractor, and that gets really stressful on schedulers too. So,
Specifically in what way?
What does self-sufficient look like?
God, it's like I'm sitting in your class again. Where you talked about this all the time. So this would be, let's see. So for example, our scheduling system that we use, there is a way to go in and submit your invoice that way. There's also a way to send in your, we call them verification of service forms, but basically the forms you have to have signed, like ARC and stuff. So we have interpreters, who kind of call in, and they always need to be walked through those processes. They don't pick up on that, and they always need to have us explain everything and help us do everything. Another example just came to my head is, I don't know if this is really like a great example. So if two interpreters show up to a job, they get double booked. So two interpreters from the same agency, or even different agencies, whatever. No, same agency. If we double book you or something and you show up, good idea, definitely call the agency and let them know, so that we can adjust it on our end. But no, that's not a good example. We get a lot of interpreters who call in, kind of ask us to provide them answers for things that they should be able to kind of answer there on their own. For example, things that are happening on site. If something is running over,
would it be something like when we talk about, like, maybe the agency would give us the information of it's at this place, but now the interpreter is trying to ask you, what's the parking like? Like those kinds of
doing it themselves.
that's good, yeah. So we do have an interpreter who calls a lot of time, I'm lost, help me, I can't find out where I'm going. Like, we probably should have looked beforehand. The example I was giving earlier about interpreters being double booked, a good example would be an interpreter would call and say, hey, we're double booked, this interpreter's going to stay, I'm going to go, is that okay with you guys? Yeah, that's great, perfect. What generally happens is, oh, this interpreter's here, I don't know what to do, well, should they stay, well, who's staying, who's going? Well,
Do I get paid?
Yeah, no, wait.
Do I get paid?
Yeah. And it's like, that's probably something you can work out with that interpreter. Same with people who get lost a lot or don't look up stuff. For example, I scheduled a conference and I provided the link with all the information of the conference in there, and then the interpreter is still asking me questions about things that you can find on that website. It's like, so it's really a lot of being self-sufficient. In order to be self-sufficient would be preparing for your job.
The three before me, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right before me, take that up to the community. Lost.
Oh my god,
It all makes sense.
Okay, and quick side note, and honestly, because I have been in your seats, so I know what Lynn can be like. But seriously, there is a rhyme and reason for damn near everything she teaches you. And you can roll your eyes and kick and scream and be frustrated with her all you want, but I promise you'll get out. Even me, because I don't interpret, I just schedule. And there are even times in my day where I think of Lynn, I'm like, okay, she wasn't just nagging on me, or she wasn't just trying to make my life really hard while I was in the program. Like,
Well, that was you.
well, we did have our own weird love affair. But opinion about Lynn is all things that you will use.
You
So
never say anything good about me.
no, that's good. That hasn't changed from when I dropped out either. So. I'm just kidding.
So is your job like 24 hours? Because you mentioned that if someone calls you overnight,
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah, it is.
you're the only one in Texas?
I'm not, so I rotate with 3 other people currently. But yeah, so a couple weekends and then random days throughout the week I do work with an on-call phone attached to my hip.
But she loves her job.
But I love my job.
With that billing, whenever we give it to whoever and it goes to you and you billing, like how long is that process? Is an interpreter like given a check bi-weekly, bi-monthly, or like every other day, depending on how they're assigned, or how does that?
Thing is within
That's
24 hours.
Yeah, Vinya's quick. You set up your bank account information and then that it processes and goes. With the agency, we pay on the 1st and 15th. And we ask, so when our process for submitting an invoice, we ask interpreters to do that within 48 hours of completing the job. So
But then the thing is that all the agencies have a completely different system. And you live in Austin and are going to work in Austin, you have CSD, TCSD, CBH, 2 hands, the other hands. You have ACC, UT, some out-of-state agencies. There's like 3 or 4 of them that I have a relationship with. So we're upwards of 10 different processes, 10 different times that billing is required, 10 different ways to bill. And you think this is difficult to organize in here? It's crazy how much you have to manage in terms of you have to bill then, this way and that way and this way and that way. And then you have to keep track of it because what if they didn't get your invoice and you didn't check up to see that you got paid and then you never got paid from that invoice. So you have to have not only the way to bill, the system and the processes and the dates, but the way to also check back up. It's crazy.
So there's no blackboard system.
no, good news is you have done with Blackboard when you leave here. I can tell you that. It's great.
You mentioned you go to Virginia, but you work for CSD. So is that the program that you work through to do the?
So Vinya is a platform we just launched. It's it kind of essentially cuts out a scheduling middleman. So interpreters go in, they set up their rates and their policies, and then businesses can go in and deaf consumers can go in, pick the interpreters or open it up, and then you can pick jobs that way. Yeah, so it's kind of like, but is you are definitely your own. There's not even a scheduler to call if something's running late. You have to advocate for yourself and be like, I gotta go. So that, that's like true independent contracting right there.
Well, I noticed there's a lot of questions going on about negotiating advertising for yourself and things like that. Could you suggest anything like I see? There's these couple of interpreters, they do a great job, and this is the reasons why it says they do so great for the company or for themselves.
I feel like you probably know most of these things, but they're really just the most professional. They're the interpreters who are able to adapt and figure out all of those billing systems and be able to use them effectively without having to call each agency every day to get help. They're generally enthusiastic about taking work, and not just taking work, but helping the deaf community and really keeping the deaf consumer in mind too, because a lot of times interpreters kind of get caught up in making money, and I want all the money I can get. Insert comment about don't be on your phones taking jobs while you're on the job here. So I would say, people who are just, they're very professional, willing to be flexible and work with us, want to provide interpreting services for the deaf consumer and aren't just focused on the money. And then, if you do these things, word gets out, people will know. So essentially, if you are following those steps, you won't have to advocate for yourself because that information gets passed around many times. But just, again, treat it like your own business, how you would want people to view you or your business, or, it's you, you're essentially, and I should be putting my words here, but yeah, so basically those.
What about the written communication? We had a conversation about written communication between
Yeah, and I brought it, but I think you can see through. I blacked out the
Can you just read
Yes.
an example?
I certainly can. I have two.
She has a couple of bad communication examples.
I do. Okay. Okay, so here is an email I got. It's entitled, "I'm so sorry I missed your ER call. I forgot to turn my phone on, so didn't hear it vibrate, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Next line. Bad habit that I have improved, but forgot to turn the sound on after work. Please forgive me. Question. Have you received all my special requests for my ongoing client for... I have it on my schedule because they always confirm when they schedule the appointments. I don't want to make a mistake, so always schedule on my calendar, then wait until you receive the request. Just checking. So bummed I missed out on the ER call. Again, I'm so sorry, Macy, that I let you down tonight. Thank you for thinking of me, and I'll make sure I out my ringer on when off my job. Enjoy your day and take care."
That was pretty clearly written on.
Yeah.
But correct. Changes put out a lot.
So in this situation, really, if you want to give me a call, send me an email, this is what happened. That's it. Didn't have my phone on, won't do it again. That's a lot of information to just tell me that they missed the call.
Right.
That's the other thing too. If you do emergency on-call work, you want to be available because that is a really quick way to get on your bad side for agency. Is to have your phone on vibrate or miss calls. This is the same interpreter. This is another email I got. Client forgot about her appointment today. Blank rescheduled to 11:30 tomorrow and asked if I was available, and I am. Worked out, so on my calendar and will wait to be officially scheduled. Blank told me she was contacting you now. Have you heard from Blank yet for blank appointment at blank at blank? For same ongoing client special request. Have interpreted for them since blank at blank. Had a nice, I guess October of 2011, I can tell you that. Had a nice visit with Blank while we were waiting for our clients. Enjoy your day and take care. This is also the interpreter who advocates for themselves at doctor's appointments. So, yeah, that. And so basically those emails are seeing if we have the requests, which is fine if you know someone, you're their preferred interpreter, and they are supposed to have an appointment on Friday, and it's coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday, and you haven't gotten the request from the agency. You can definitely send an email and just ask, but I wouldn't send more than one because just know that we will send it to you when we get it. So again, that keeps conversation down to a minimum. Don't need to put all of your feelings and how sorry you are in there, because again, it's a business. And
Do you prefer emails or direct calls?
I like both. Some people prefer one or the other. I don't think your agency, if it's not a pressing matter and you don't really need to be talking to someone, maybe email, otherwise call, but that you'll get a feel for when you start working with the agency, their preferred method of communication.
So do you have any good examples of how, or can you give me an example of how you prefer that to be worded?
Yeah, so I didn't bring any good examples of emails. No positive reinforcement here. But so, for example, that second email asking about the other interpreter, and she let me know how long she's been interpreting for this person, and they were expecting this, and wanted to know if we got this request. I would really just say, hey, have you received the request for this person? Or
You even make it in two separate emails. Those are about two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Two separate emails.
Yeah, I think the first email probably touched on three different things. So. But yeah, I mean, the last line of that email was another interpreter that she was chatting with, or he was chatting with. So.
She.
Well, you all laughed.
Last question, then we have a role play.
Okay. How does an interpreter deal with if they're at the job and they get an emergency, like someone in their family was hurt or accident or whatever? What is the next?
How would you know?
Well, if it. Well, it's not something that you would.
How would you know? Unless you were checking your pager.
Let's say it was an extended assignment and you were on your legitimate break from the assignment and you found that out, or if you were getting
Or that,
and you
yeah.
got violently ill or something. So it's
Good, Pauline.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, I didn't think about a break because I was like, well, if it's an hour, you would. But then I was like, but you wouldn't get a break. But anyways, yeah.
I can answer. There are lots of veteran interpreters who work through that because they're not going to be able to find somebody to replace you for the next hour or so without taking taking on a lot of extra work to do it,
Right.
and it's just a huge mess for them. You don't want to inconvenience them. If somebody died, you just got a call that somebody's been been hospitalized, then that's different. But to the extent possible, you just try to work through what you can and then take care of your business, just like pretty much everybody else does on the planet. But stop checking your pagers, especially during while you're working, because if you haven't learned how to contain your emotions, then you don't need to be looking at your phones. Because if those things do come in, and it happened to us during an internship situation where a student got something that was a joke from her mother about your little brother cut his arm off, and she couldn't contain herself because she was looking at her phone. So she just started crying in the middle of the appointment.
So when you say pager, do you actually mean cell phone or just
That's an old word.
pager? I was like, that is so cool.
Because I can remember
Calling it a pager.
that's
Yeah.
Because my friends would be like, I'm gonna page you.
I
What do you mean you're gonna page me? I'm page. You're gonna page me. And so then I just accepted it.
Oh, really?
They'll page you, text you.
Yeah.
Page you. That's
And I know you said no more questions, but on that note that you're talking about, what would you say are the biggest complaints from consumers and companies about interpreters?
What are the biggest complaints? Being on time, being professionally dressed, being on your phone while, especially because, if you're at a medical 1 hour appointment and you're interpreting, it's probably not likely that you have a lot of time to be on your phone. If you were teaming with someone on a long job and you shouldn't be bored, but if you have, pull out your phone then. So that, that which, so unprofessionalism for interpreters, I would say that, and just interpreters who seem kind of not friendly to the staff, who aren't willing. So I had an interpreter on a job, and it was a medical job. Someone was having an 8-inch needle put in their back. And so, generally what happens if you don't understand what deaf consumer says, you'll ask for clarification. So the doctor was requesting that when the interpreter did that, they let the doctor know that they were doing that, because otherwise it looks like side conversation that the doctor now feels not privy to. And so asked the interpreter to clarify when that was happening, and the interpreter didn't. And so they even called us and said, get us another interpreter, we'll even wait another hour if we have to. You have to, I don't feel comfortable putting an 8-inch needle in someone's back if I don't know what they're saying. So just, being friendly, being flexible, working with them if they're needing you to clarify or things like that. So cool.
Okay, so you're not gonna have time for a break, so just gut it out. And you can turn it off. Nicole, you can go because you're not gonna be able to